Aim is held peacefully with police blessing and under permit. The day before, the marchers had been dispersed by state troopers and sheriff's deputies when they marched without a permit. Today, troopers and deputies are absent. Only city police line the route of march. The parade passes through the heart of Montgomery, past the state capitol, to the county courthouse a mile from the starting point. The only sign of disorder was the blowing of horns by impatient motorists. Not a club was raised in anger. The throng later hears Dr. King summarize a meeting he had with the county sheriff. He said that they were near agreement on future demonstrations, and he saw peace in Montgomery. The long-anticipated Freedom March from Selma to Alabama's capital of Montgomery finally gets underway as Dr. Martin Luther King addresses the crowd at the starting point. Twice before, the marchers had been turned back by state troopers. Now they march under a federal court order and with the protection of federalized National Guard units and regular troops, a total of nearly 3,000 men. For the first day, there are 3,200 marchers in line. Half of the four-lane Highway 80 is closed to traffic. Later, where it becomes 2 lanes, the marchers had been ordered by the court to reduce their number to 300, a measure designed for their safety. There are a few isolated flare-ups between whites and Negroes, but otherwise the demonstration is peaceful. The first day, the marchers tramp a little over 7 miles. Those who have been assigned to complete the 54-mile walk hope to present a petition to Governor George Wallace. The first night is spent in a field near New Sister Springs Baptist Church, their host a Negro farmer. While 2,900 of the marchers return to Selma, the rest resume their long trek. Organizers hope their ranks will be swelled once again when the nucleus arrives in Montgomery. The Freedom March has been an historical venture in nonviolent protest.
Today is a triumph for freedom, as huge as any victory that's ever been won on any battlefield. Today, we strike away the last major shackle of those fierce and ancient bonds. Today, the Negro story and the American story fuse and blend.
In the same room where President Lincoln signed the first Emancipation Order in 1861, President Johnson signed the 1965 Voter Registration Act and pledged to millions of Americans a new chance to find a political voice.
This law will ensure them the right to vote. The wrong is one which no American in his heart can justify. The right is one which no American, true to our principles, can deny.
Ruled by one of the worst figures in American history, Bull Connor, who must have been some kind of psychopath, just rabid on the issue of race.
You can never whip these birds if you don't keep you and them separate. I found that out in Birmingham. You've got to keep the white and the black separate.
Bull Connor was a real bigot, and he was willing and able to do anything, really, to make sure that the Southern way of life of segregation and Jim Crow remained intact. He thought that the whole social order, that civilization depended on it.
Last night, a man phoned me, said he was close to the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan. He said he wanted to give me a tip. Be sure and be at the bus terminal on Sunday, he said, because you're going to see action.
Unbeknownst to any of us, the Birmingham Police Department, headed up by Bull Connor, had made an agreement with the head of the Klan to give them time to beat up the Freedom Riders at the Trailways bus station. My instructions were, from the Birmingham Police Department, that the Klan organization had 15 minutes, quote, to burn, bomb, kill, maim, I don't give a goddamn. He said, I will guarantee you people that not one soul will ever be arrested in that 15 minutes.
The FBI, even though they knew that there was going to be violence and there was going to be no police protection, they did nothing to protect the rioters.
The Klan had put out a fiery cross summonses, which means people from all over the different states were to come. Not hundreds, thousands of people would be down there in order to weed on them buses and beat them and probably kill those people.
What ended up being worse was that their very own informant, Gary Thomas Rowe, was at the center of the violence.
In theory, the director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, reports to the Attorney General, but in fact, Hoover was more powerful than any Attorney General. But Hoover made no effort to stop the mob, and he never told Kennedy about it. He never told his boss, the Attorney General, that he was watching the mob be formed, and that the FBI was going to do nothing to stop it.
When the bus pulled up, there was a mob looking like 1,000 people. They had these iron pipes.
James Peck and I, we were scheduled to test the facilities. So he looked at me and I looked at him, and we proceeded to go into the terminal.
I looked at the reporter. When our eyes met and he looked away, it just, I don't know, my guts, my very guts shook. He must have thought we were doomed.
As we entered, we were met by hoodlums who were standing around the walls.
The very first thing that I saw was a white man. And he was hollering, no, people don't do it. They're my brothers, they're your brothers. Before I let you kill me, you have to kill me first. Klansmen made the statement, well, that ain't no problem. At that time, all hell broke loose.
I was thrown forward. I was hit on the back of the head with something.
It was a mass brawl. Stakes, bats, clubs, guns, just swinging away, just swinging away.
The chest. It was just an awful scene.
It was horrible. It was like a scene from hell. It was the worst suffering I'd ever heard. Yeah, I heard water. Please give me water. Oh God, I need water. I walked right out into the middle of that crowd. I picked me out one person. I washed her face. I held her. I gave her water to drink. And as soon as I thought she was going to be okay, I got up and picked out somebody else.
As I'm getting up off the ground, 4 or 5 guys coming at me again. And this is when I see the highway patrolman. He pulls his gun and he fired in the air. He says, okay, you've had your fun. Let's move back. And that's what stopped it.
The people on the Trailways bus going into Birmingham don't know that the Greyhound bus has been burned in Anniston, outside Anniston, and the riders are sitting on the side of the road, you know, covered in blood.